to order on August 12th, 2020, and I will start with roll call. Councillor Goya.
Present.
Councillor Spillis.
Present.
Councillor Bailey.
Present.
Councillor Bummer.
Here.
And I am obviously here. So I have this to read out. Purpose of this public meeting is to inform and provide the public with the opportunity to ask questions or to express views with respect to development proposals. Councillors are here to observe and listen to your comments. However, they will not make any decisions this evening. Township requests that you please notify by email Lynn Banks at lbanks, L-B-A-N-K-S @pluslinch.ca or by phone at 519-763-1226, extension 226. If you wish to be on record and would like to be notified of future hearings and decisions regarding these applications. Please note the meeting is video and audio recorded and all electronic meetings are uploaded to the municipality's YouTube page. By registering to participate in the meeting by electronic means, you are consenting to have your likeness and comments recorded and posted on YouTube. As the chair, I'm informing you that when council makes a decision, you should disagree with that decision. The Planning Act provides you with an opportunity to appeal this application to the Land Planning Advisory Tribunal for a hearing. Please note that if a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or within submissions or written submissions to the Township of Pluslinch before the decision is made, person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Township of Pluslinch to the Land Planning Advisory Tribunal. In addition, if a person or public body does not make an oral submission at a public meeting or make written comments to the Township of Pluslinch before the decision is made, person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Land Planning Advisory Tribunal, unless, in the opinion of the board, there are reasonable grounds to do so. You may wish to talk to township staff regarding further information on the appeal process. The Planning Act requires that at least one public meeting be held for each development proposal. The format of this public meeting is as follows. The applicant or agent will present the purpose and details of the application and any further relevant information. Following this, the public can obtain clarification, ask questions, and express their views on the proposal. Council will then have an opportunity to ask any clarification questions. The applicant and the county planning staff will attempt to answer questions or respond to concerns this evening. If this is not possible, the applicant and or staff will follow up and obtain this information. Responses will be provided when this matter is brought forward and evaluated by council at a later date. So we'll go into the first one. Specific proposal number 1. This public meeting involves an application by Paul and Susan Corse for a rezoning application D14/COU to rezone to allow for a temporary use over a portion of the property from an agricultural A zone to a site-specific permit to permit a garden suite. Would the Deputy Clerk, Courtney Hoyfox, please have the owner/applicant join the panelists to explain the proposal? And then would the Deputy Clerk display the property sketch or any presentation material the owner/applicant has provided? Hello.
Hello.
Hello there. Oh, there we are.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Just waiting for Courtney to, when she feels that everything is uploaded, then. Okay. Courtney, are we okay for the applicant to start their presentation?
Can you see my screen share there just with the survey with the property location and the garden suite?
We sure can. I can see your mouse moving around.
Perfect. Okay.
Very good. Okay, Susan.
Okay, hi, I'm Susan Corse and my husband Paul. First of all, thanks very much for the opportunity to present the application tonight. And Councillor Sapoulis, we get to see you twice now, in last night and tonight. I'll just move forward. The application was very simple. We applied for the rezoning to install a temporary garden suite for our son and daughter-in-law. The drawing Courtney has kindly uploaded there. You can see the location of the garden suite.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I'm not sure what else you require.
Very straightforward. Okay. All right. Well, Are there any persons who have questions, require further clarification or information, or wish to present their views on this proposal? Courtney, would you please advise whether any attendees watching the meeting would like to provide comments or ask questions regarding the application currently under discussion?
We have two attendees in the audience that I'm just going to unmute to see if they do have any questions. So the first attendee that I'm going to unmute and just ask is Jamie Mysilk. Sorry if I've pronounced that wrong. If you just want to confirm whether you do or do not have any comments or questions.
I don't have any questions.
And the second person I'm going to unmute just to see if they have any questions or comments is Jamie Holmes. So I'm just going to unmute you here now, Jamie.
Hi there. No, I have no questions. Thank you.
All right, well, that was easy. All right, does council have any clarification questions regarding this application? And not hearing any. I don't see any. Give the members that don't have their video on a couple moments if they want to chime in. Is there any further information which the applicant wishes to provide?
No.
Nothing more at this point, Mayor Sealy.
Okay, well, it's really nice to meet you. I think we'll move on to the specific proposal number 2.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you for, thank
Thank
you.
you so
Have a
much.
great night.
You
Thanks.
too.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Bye-bye. Okay. And we'll read the second one. So we have specific proposal number 2. This public meeting involves an application by Joseph Gallo for rezoning application D14/GAL. Rezone the lands from an agricultural A to an agricultural site-specific zone from an agricultural service and supply establishment. Would the Deputy Clerk, Courtney Hoyfox, please have the owner/applicant join the panelists to explain the proposal? Would the Deputy Clerk display the property sketch or any presentation material the owner-applicant has provided?
Good evening. Can council hear me?
Good evening. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I cut out there, so I hope I didn't miss my cue there and you weren't waiting too long for me.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Perfect. My name is Neil DeRuyter. I'm a planner with MHBC Planning, and I'm here with my client who is physically distanced from me across our boardroom, Mr. Joseph Gallo. First, I want to thank Township and staff for bringing this forward in this format. We were originally scheduled to go to the public meeting right after COVID hit, and so it is nice to be back, albeit in a different format, in front of you tonight. I'm going to try to be very brief. This is from our perspective, a fairly straightforward application. Courtney, if I can just ask you if you can please go to the next slide. So the purpose of this application is to legalize an existing use. Joseph installs what are called composite mats to allow heavy equipment to access over sensitive lands to minimize surface and soil disturbance. And this site, which is located on concession 7, just south of concession 1, is used to store these mats. He also has construction equipment that he stores on the site related to the use. And there's also a maintenance garage, a dwelling, and an office. And I'll go shortly to a plan just to show you and give you some context for the site and where these are located. But essentially, this is an application to legalize an existing use under the new zoning bylaw. The other part of it, as well, is there's a woodland and wetland in a corner of a property, and the application proposes to expand that protection area. One matter I would like to highlight for council, this is not an application to expand or intensify the use. It's simply to legalize the use as it currently exists. Under the new zoning bylaw in the agricultural zone, Joseph's current use is not specifically permitted. So the idea of this application is that it legalizes what's there and then sets out some additional parameters for things like outdoor storage and where these uses can be located on the property. Courtney, next slide, please. This shows a concept plan in terms of what's on the property right now. The property is about 20 acres. It's on the west side of Concession Road 7. The area highlighted in yellow in a north-south direction, that's the hydro line. There's a hydro tower that sits in the middle of Joseph's property. What's pretty relevant to the use and why it's located here is what it used to be used for, and that was for a gravel pit back in the 1980s. It was used as a wayside pit by Bott Construction. So there's quite a grade difference on this property from when you're on the road compared to what looks like on this air photo as the disturbed area. There's quite a grade difference. So when you're standing at the entrance from Concession Road 7, you don't see the buildings. And as you can see in the concept plan, most of the area, and I've got a photo that will help show this, but most of this area is the disturbed gravel pit floor. And so that's where the storage occurs. In the southwest corner, in the area highlighted in pink, that's Fletcher Creek Swamp. And from that, there's a drip line identified. Mr. Gallo had received a violation notice from Hamilton Conservation Authority for development occurring within a regulated area without the permission of the Conservation Authority. He's since come to an agreement with the Conservation Authority. Basically, what's going to happen is all the areas that were basically stripped or either with storage on them within 30 meters of the drip line will have to be removed, and then he will be required to restore the area. And it might be a bit hard to see with the font, but there's a restoration area identified there. That area will be brought back to the way it was in terms of the grades and how it was seeded. Yeah, and that's exactly, Courtney, the area you're highlighting there. Next slide, please. This is a photo just to help show the context for the site. And this photo is taken from the middle of the site looking east. And you can see I've identified some of the key elements. So the maintenance garage and attached dwelling you can see are in the middle in the background there. And then the construction equipment's on the side. As you can see, it's pretty apparent that this site was extracted. But even, I mean, I can even sell in this photo, the scale doesn't do it justice. Concession 7 is identified there in the background. There's an access road that basically goes down the former pit side slope and goes down to the gravel floor. So the composite mats and the construction equipment are only stored on the gravel pit floor. So what that allows for, it makes sure that all that equipment and the storage are not visible from public view from the road. Next slide, please. So we prepared a fairly detailed planning report. The bottom line, so that council's aware, is in our opinion that the proposed amendment conforms with the provincial policy statement, the growth plan, the green belt plan, and the county's official plan. And I guess there are two things I want to highlight. The first is this is not a site that's located in a prime agricultural area, which has its own restrictive policies. They're class 6 lands. As you could see from that photo, there's no agricultural uses on this site or in the immediate area. And from the county official plan perspective, this is a site that's designated secondary agriculture. And secondary agriculture has specific permissions that allow uses like this. So from the perspective of the provincial policies and the county official plan, the use is permitted, and in our opinion, the proposed amendment conforms with those policies. Next slide, please. What I also want to highlight is the comments that we've received to date on this. And to this point, to our understanding, there's been no concerns provided from the public or the agencies. The township has received 5 letters of support from neighbors. We haven't seen any objections from any of the review agencies. As I mentioned before, Hamilton Conservation Authority, they have no objections to this proposal. They approved the restoration plan that my client worked on to bring that area back to the way it was. The township's engineer and ecologist have indicated they have no objections, as has Wellington Source Water Protection. We went to PDAC right before COVID on March 10th, and the committee resolved to support the proposed application. Next slide, please. This map identifies where we received the letters of support, and what I just want to highlight is all the folks that Joseph, my client, has spoken to, or what we've received, or what the township's received in writing in terms of the nearest neighbors, have indicated that they support the proposal. This is really a small scale use. It's Joseph and his son. Those are the two full-time employees. There is limited activity on the site on a daily basis. A lot of the residents located in this area actually moved in after the use has been established, particularly the closest residents. The vacant properties closest to this property are family owned. So, and I think this probably ties into my next slide, if you don't mind, Courtney. From our perspective, there really are no issues from a land use compatibility perspective. The use has been there for 25 years. There's support from neighbors with no concerns expressed by agencies to date that we are aware of. The site's well buffered from public view due to its location in a former gravel pit. There's no manufacturing or processing that occurs on site. It is really limited to outdoor storage. There's not many properties you can find with these types of characteristics that allow for that to occur. As I mentioned, it's a small scale operation. There's limited on-site activity. Even this year, Joseph's advised that the amount of business that's occurring from that operation is very limited. The one point I do want to bring up, and this is just based upon the county staff report as to a question as to whether site plan control should be applied on the site. From our perspective, applying site plan control retroactively is an unnecessary burden. And I say that from the perspective of the costs to go through it for my client, but more importantly, the structures that are already in place already have building permits when the use was known. So from my perspective, to apply site plan control for something that's already there and built is somewhat unusual. Granted, we feel that this application is the proper avenue to discuss land use compatibility, and we think we've done that through the draft amendment and what's been put forward to the township. Joseph certainly is of the understanding and aware that any future expansion, or if it's putting up a new building, would be subject to site plan control. But for now, our perspective is we just don't feel it's necessary, given everything that's on site is basically being there as is. We're not proposing any changes to that. So for site plan control, which is typically done in advance of issuance of building permit, it just, we don't think that is the necessary avenue here. So with that, I hope I kept it brief and to the point, and I'd be happy to answer any questions following any comments by the public.
Perfect, thank you. Are there any persons who have questions, require further clarification or information, or wish to present their views on the proposal? Courtney, will you please advise whether any attendees watching the meeting would like to provide comments or ask questions regarding the application currently under discussion?
Mayor Seeley, I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to unmute first Jamie Mysilk to see if there's any comments or questions.
No questions for this one either. Thank you.
And I'm now going to unmute Jamie Holmes to see if there's any questions or comments.
Thank you, Courtney. I'll be very brief. I assume I see that Neil has commented that the letter that I provided had been received by council. Is that correct?
I believe it was a part of the, sorry, I believe it was a part of the county report that was provided to council.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure the council had an opportunity to read what I had submitted, that's all.
Okay. Jamie, sorry, for the record, could you just kindly state your address as well? I have your full name, but just your address.
Oh yeah, that's sorry. Yes, Jamie Holmes, 3994 Concession 7, I have, my wife and I own the property directly south of Mr. Gallo's property, and we share the property line between the two properties. Anyway, I'll be very brief. I just wanted to add to what I had already submitted to council. Was very simply that before I purchased the property just over 4 years ago, I did a fair amount of research. I made some calls. I called the township. I called around, and I was essentially told that the business that Mr. Gallo was running was a fairly low impact use, and really had not disturbed anyone. I can further say that in the past 4 years that my wife and I have lived there, that we have found this to be true and correct. And Mr. Gallo's use of his property in no way disturbs our enjoyment or ability to live there. As a matter of fact, quite honestly, we rarely even know that Mr. Gallo is even around. And I don't know him well, but certainly, as I said, he is not given us any reason to not wish to grant his application. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other attendees, Courtney, that you need to request if they have comments?
No, Mayor Sealy, that's it.
Okay. Does council have any clarification questions regarding this application? No. Is there further information which the applicant wishes to provide?
No, all I would add is just thank you for allowing us to do this. I hope it's a good first step into the public meetings. I know the township's been doing quite a few virtual meetings, so I hope it's smooth sailing from this point on. So thank you very much for having us tonight.
Well, I appreciate the patience Mr. Gallo has had in going through this process. I remember back in March, I waited till the last moment to cancel that public information meeting. We know it's been a process. We wanted to get it completed for him, but the risks were just too high with COVID. So we had to shut it down. But here we are, you know, a few months later, and hopefully getting some resolve for you and your client. We appreciate your patience. All right. I declare this public meeting closed. Council will take no action on the proposal tonight. Staff will be reporting at a later date with a recommendation for council's consideration. If you wish to receive further notification of this proposal, please email or call Lynn Banks, Development and Legislative Coordinator at lbanks@pluslinch.ca or by phone at 519-763-1226, extension 226, or contact township staff during regular business hours. Only those persons who leave their names will be provided further notification. If you wish to speak to the proposal when it is brought before council in the future, you must register as a delegation with the township clerk prior to the meeting. I believe that concludes our requirements, Ms. Whitebot.
Yes, I'm going to stop the recording now.